All right, good morning. So we're just on the 27th of December, so he's had Christmas Day and Boxing Day off. And so I just thought I'd put together another shorter video of just kind of what we're working on and where he's at, and you know, some of the things that we have been doing, continuing to do before he goes home. I'm not going to do any groundwork or anything with him. I'm just going to get on and kind of see where he's at, you know, and we'll just go from there. We've been working a fair bit more in some trot work. He has broke into and offered up the canter a couple of times, so we just, you know, if he offers it, just kind of go with it. I haven't really schooled the canter just because there's a lot of things that I would like to get better at the slower gaits for him to get a little better comprehension of things and build some strength. But when he offers it up, you know, we'll just go with it, see what it's like. So, you know, maybe we'll do some today, maybe not. We'll see how it looks. There you go, good. Good boy. So again, going back to some of the things where he might, you know, get a little nitpicky on, when I got, you know, he stood there nicely at the mounting block while I was taking a bit of time, and then he walked off as I got in the saddle. You know, there's some of those things again where you can kind of be, it kind of is your personal preference. I really don't mind too much if they start to move off once in a while when they're at this point in the training, as long as they're not, you know, running off or something. He just kind of walked off just because that's in his nature to be kind of moving and going, but he did it rather politely. So to me, it's not really something that I want to work on right now. Definitely as we progress a little bit, you know, we can be a little bit more picky on that. And it's not like he does it every time either, so having a couple of days off and just kind of having that little bit of anticipation of starting to move and work, to me it's okay. I don't really mind stuff like that. Again, providing he kind of does it in a little bit of a gentlemanly manner and not just kind of scooting off with as soon as your foot touches the stirrup. So we got these little cross rails and these colorful things in here today that the girls set up when they were riding the last couple of days. So he hasn't really seen them, so, you know, we'll work around them, give him a little bit of time to sort of look at it and see what he thinks of things. So there. You remember back to the other videos where he would just kind of catapult himself over things like that. This is a nice, especially 2 minutes into the ride, this is a nice feeling for me that he starts to put a little more thought into. I don't think we'll step over those little colorful barrels today, but we can certainly work around them and near them and just let him get more comfortable with the things that are there. But to give him a little bit of a short rein here, kind of put a little bit of thought into. This one's a little bit higher. Let's see if you can, what your thoughts are on that. Yeah, it's okay. Super, it's okay. Yeah, good. Good. And for that one there, it's a little bit higher. He's a little bit uncertain. So to walk up to it, to wait, to move away from it while he's just there and not getting really upset, but just kind of giving him a little bit of the opportunity to get a little bit of comfort there, a little bit of courage. Super for you, good for you. You know, and again, just going back to having him put a little bit of thought into things before some deep breaths, some letting go, nice and early in the ride. It's a little bit crisper weather this morning, kind of wet and damp, and some of the horses are pretty playful, and just that kind of weather that seems to promote a little bit of more energy in them. You know, like I said, a couple of days off. I just tacked him up in the barn. I brought him in to have a snack in there with his buddy. and have a bit of a snack before we got ready, and really, so no prep work at all. So really kind of happy with the feeling that he has underneath of me. Right now his neck isn't super contracted, and he's snorting and blowing and drawing back from things, which is another nice sign when you kind of work on things like this with the horses, and they get a little bit of confidence, that they feel a little bit more, they show up to work and they're a little bit more present. They're kind of like, all right, here I am, let's do something, instead of kind of shrinking back and really contracting the body and kind of hiding from the world. The more they start to understand the work, the more they get the feeling of showing up and bringing themselves in a little bit of presence. They start to carry themselves better. It's a different feeling. There's a little different mentality to them. Now, I'm not saying that we've got, that everything is perfect, because it's far from it, but his understanding, his work ethic, and his comfort level have grown a lot in the last, good for you. Even something like earlier if I had him in the barn, now I don't have him in the barn rarely by himself, that's still too much for him to be comfortable with, but his buddy is across the hall, across the aisle, and I don't really have to be fussing with him or kind of trying to just be there to help settle him a little bit. He's much better at that. I mean, obviously when he's got a friend with him, that's the way it would be, but you can start to work a little bit on that as well. If you have a friend near him, and then take the friend out for a moment or two until he kind of starts to settle himself a little bit. Then bring the other buddy back. Just, anything that's kind of a confidence building thing for him that doesn't put him under a whole lot of duress for too long, because once he gets too stressed out, the thinking goes out the window. But just kind of integrating those kind of things into his day, just so that there's more thought, and he starts to connect the dots and see the patterns to what you're doing, finds a little bit of comfort there, and starts to just settle into the routine more and more. Good for you. So I like, even early in the ride here, he's really, if you watch his ears, he's consistently checking in with me far more than before. So that's something that you can use too as your barometer. Even in the groundwork, it doesn't really matter. But when he gets his head too high and his body gets tight and his ears prick forward on something that's, half a mile away, just change his focus, bring it a little bit to you. And it could be just a matter of doing something to get one ear on you. Doesn't really matter. There, we got the left ear, came back. Good, and his walk slowed down. Another thing too that I would point out is that corner there where the jumps are piled up and that green light of the camera is. Oftentimes that's a bit of a scary corner. There's birds in behind the panels there. There's two horses directly outside that wall. Very nice. So there's little noises and stuff that happen there, and he oftentimes, in his true fashion, it's not that he won't go through the corner, but you can feel him bunching up, and then you can feel him kind of reach his threshold and then just kind of push through it. When he comes into here, that last time going in the other direction and then coming in this direction, he's actually softening. I can feel him soften a little bit, and he's slowing down with his feet. So, I'm not really doing anything there to try to promote that. I'm just giving him the opportunity to either blast through it. There's a deep breath again. So he can either blast through it, or he can put a little bit of thought. Here, then this is where he wants to push through. So he's pushing through my right rein, my right leg here right now. So I'm just going to close that door. I don't want to necessarily push him into this corner if he's bothered by it, but I want to remind him that there is my leg, my rein on this right side that he doesn't necessarily get to just ignore and push through. So I want to work on that connection more so than trying to fix the spooky part of that corner. And the more that he gets a little bit, more has a more regard for those aids, then we don't have to, again, push him into the corner where it's scary or push him into that thing. More so we can just keep him in between the aids and help him find some comfort there. But if he just wants to push through all the time, so here he's getting a little bit anxious and bunched up, you know, so I'm gonna gently with my right leg, my right rein, I'm gonna look a little to the left here. We slow down a bit, and we came through there a bit softer, and that's all I'm gonna look for now. I don't want to pick on every little tiny thing like, you know, correct bend and correct flexion and this and that and inside hind leg engaged more and all that stuff. I just simply want to help him understand that there's a fence on this side, on the right side, being my right aids, and that I would just really like for him not to completely ignore them and push through me. So we got a little bunched up animated trot here. Again, I'm not going to go work towards a dressage trot where it's big and flowing and fluid. Just want softness, balance, connection. His ears are back on me, so as much as he's a little bit not too sure of that stuff there, and he's a little bit bunched up in the body, he's checking in, he's listening, he's like, you know, he's giving it a nice effort. So to me, that's really all that I can ask for at this moment. And just keeping my seat relaxed and loose and fluid, having the feeling that I'm kind of bringing his hind legs underneath of him from my seat, kind of flicking his hind legs a little bit in front of my hips instead of trying to think of riding him in front of my leg. My leg is gently on his side, but it's not necessarily trying to make him go in terms, if you think in terms of having the horse in front of the leg. Sometimes that gets a little bit misconstrued. I like to think of having the horse in front of my hips. Good. And yeah, he's a little, you know, a little too short in the neck, a little, there we go. I was going to say a little distracted, and he brought his attention back to me. I'm going to swing a little bit to the right. So I'm just trying to stay as loose and soft as I can, give him some guidance, soften him a little bit, give with the reins. Yes, he starts to move a little bit bigger there, but it wasn't bigger and really, really fast. It was bigger and a little more forward. I'm going to put a little right flexion, a little right bend here to see if I can move his body a little to the left without getting upset. And just sneaking in these moments. Now he hears the horses outside, so he's a little bit more concerned. We'll do a little bit of a leg yield kind of along the wall here. Just trying to work his body a little loose. Lead him a little bit towards the wall here with my outside rein. Create a little bit of bend to the left with my body. Look a little to the right and lead him out again. So not trying to make him relax by holding tight and getting tight myself and hoping we can get through this. It's just feeling what he's got going on, trying to receive that energy and melt it a little bit myself in my own body, and then try to give him back a little bit of energy that's a bit cleaner and softer than what he's got right now. So you can kind of think of it as being a little bit of a filter for his energy at the moment. It's not always something that's easy to do, but you always have the moments too, or the option if things start to get too much, to really, again, to go back to bending him around and slowing the feet, bringing him right around, to where he slows and then soften. So that's, you know, that's always an exercise that's available as well. And it's good to practice that one a lot, even when things are going really good. Practice it on the ground, practice it in the in-hand work, practice it under saddle. Try to make it really, really effective and as close to perfect as you can while you don't need it. So then when you do need it, your chances of it working for you are much better. Trying to teach it and have it be effective when you're out on the trail somewhere and he's kind of running off with you isn't the time to work on the exercise. There you go, good. And you can do, take that to as far as you want. You can bend him around to a stop, which I would probably do quite a bit in the beginning, just so that he really associates that with slowing the feet or stopping the feet. And then you can work it into where you might use it just to slow his feet down, maybe make the walk a little slower or come from a trot to a walk. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter, but just so that he has that connection of bending to, bending to a stop, if you want to think of it that way, or bending to just slowing his feet, either way. So then sometimes if he starts to get the adrenaline up a little bit and he starts to get a little bit, the anxiety comes back a little, then you can, like say in the trot work there, then you can come back to walk and just kind of revisit some things, reiterate some things. Good for you. Good. I'm going to go a little bit of a head to the wall leg yield here. Nothing too steep. Just want to see if I can manage the outside shoulder a little bit. Maybe bring the left hind a little bit underneath. So it's just a very, very small, a very small introduction to some lateral work, a little bit of a leg yield feeling without trying to get him too bothered. Yes, and then bring the shoulder around this way. Bring the left shoulder around, left shoulder, maybe a little bit of leg yield to the wall. And I say leg yield, but it's really very, very little from the leg. My leg is laying on his side like a wet towel, so it's there, but it's not really doing a lot. And I'm just taking the motion of my seat, my hip, my vision, and just looking towards that direction. So, he's sensitive enough that you don't need to make things happen. You just set things up, create an opportunity to be successful, and then allow it to happen. So I'm going to see if I can do the same in this direction. Right shoulder. I'm going to ride a little bit towards the letter E there. Swing a little bit. And if he gets a bit bunched up, it's okay. I'm going to go a little bit to the wall. Good. Good for you. Now go a little forward if we can. Yeah. So work in a little bit of some half halt ideas just through the verbal, through that noise. He starts to understand that as a coming back and a slowing a little bit. We can then start to add in a little bit more of the physical aids for the half halt. Yeah. Good. And then a bit forward, and yeah, he comes tight in the neck, and he gets, but he just kind of holds himself that way when he's a little bit unsure. This will just get better and better. The stronger he gets, the better balanced he gets. The more he understands how to connect the back end to the front end and work through the body a little bit more, soften and let go. And all of those exercises of being able to move, let's say the left shoulder this way, the birds flew up there, the left shoulder, left shoulder, left shoulder, left shoulder, good, and then straight towards the wall, and a little forward through the seat, very nice, a little forward in the body, a little length in the neck if we can. So we can always soften a little bit with the rein and offer the hands forward. Maybe he'll reach out to the hand a little bit more with his neck, maybe he won't. But it's good to offer and be wrong than for him to be trying to reach for the bit and we're holding him in too tight. So lots of gives. Good for you. And again, it's obviously better in the walk because it's easier for him. The gait is slower. He's got the strength to hold the walk a little bit better. He can swing through the body. He can reach out to the hand. And once the speed goes up, then the balance goes down. Of course, then because of the balance going down, the stiffnesses come in because he's a little worried. He feels unbalanced. He starts to fret a little bit about that, and everything contracts again. He's just trying to stay to where he feels that he's in control of his body and he's balanced over all 4 feet. So Little bits in the trot, very nice. And that's the reason why I don't push the canter very quickly on young horses. I kind of like to grow into the canter a little bit more organically, because it's just usually by the time that they're comfortable enough in their body to offer the canter, then it's, you know, they've got the strength to maintain the balance a little better. Very nice. It doesn't become a bit of a tug of war trying to contain the canter with the hands, and they don't start to then sometimes teach the rider to hold them a little bit too much in the hand, and they start to lean on the hand, and they kind of need that as a support beam if you start it too early. Not all the time, but sometimes. So what I've come to understand, or in the way that I do things, is to bring the canter about when it feels like it's ready, and not just to bring it about so that I can say that I've walk, trot, cantered him in the first week. Very nice. So in the walk, again, we can play with a little left flexion. And this is what he needs, is lots and lots and lots of walk work. There's super good to keep my seat moving. Yeah, good. A little bit of left flexion here. I'm going to sit a little bit to the right, lead him out here with my right rein. A little left flexion again. Left flexion, left shoulder, lead to the right. Very good. And then just walk out. Yeah, good. Good boy. And then we'll come and play over these little cross rails again, just to give him a little bit of a different feeling in the body, a little different thing to focus on, a little more concentration on that specific thing and not really too worried about everything. We'll try this one again and see what he thinks. Now you're getting to the high side there. A little bit more worried about the red barrels, or the red and yellow and green. I'm going to walk over this one. Yeah, good. Very good. Good for you. Good. And so sometimes you'll see, very good. Sometimes when you're working over things like this, they'll take, for example, the bridge that's leaning against the panels over there in the far end. We've ridden over that a bunch, and I've ridden over it with a blue tarp underneath of it. And just be mindful of sometimes that, so when I was riding over that bridge with the tarp under it, riding in towards that corner where all the stuff is piled there, he actually wasn't concerned at all about the bridge. He kept wanting to step off the side of it, but he wasn't at all concerned about the bridge. He was always focused heavily on that corner over there. So, you know, once I got his focus back to where we were working, then it wasn't a problem. So all I'm saying is just be aware of where his focus is, because the thing that he's having difficulty with may not be the thing that he's at all concerned about. And quite often that's his go-to. We've talked about this ever since he's come here. But, you know, to just be really mindful of where he's focused, and just kind of working on that. Yes, good for you. Good. Good. I'm going to try something here. Boy. So he's, you know, we've worked with all of these tools and things on the ground. We've worked with them at a standstill. We've worked with them in movement. Let's just try it from the ground. So lots of times I have found that when you get them to where they're pretty comfortable with these things, standing still and in motion, oftentimes when you come to the mounting block and you're up above them in a different position, the tools can become a little bit of an issue again. And once they get good with that, then sometimes up in this position reignites all of those same behaviors and patterns. So I'm just going to try something here, see if I can get myself bucked off. There you are. So get his attention a little bit here, and we'll just start to play with the noise of the whip here. Yeah, good for you. Good. There, so I like that. You know, not really any tension in him. He actually came to a stop on his own. I'm just trying to give him the feeling in my body that I'm not really, you know, trying to project the feeling that I think he's going to scoot off. Trying to stay as relaxed as I can. Trying to give him as much freedom up here. Yeah, super good. Yeah. So this is a nice, you know, a really nice sign. I kind of really like when we get to the point with his reactivity to everything in the beginning on the ground being so strong and such big reactions. That's very nice. Good for you. Good. Very good. So I really like that. You know, and I talked about in the trot work, the canter work, and all of that stuff, not being such the focus with him as it is trying to help him find some comfort in what he's doing, feeling good about what he's doing, and not just getting him to do stuff for the sake of getting him to do stuff. So it's a lot more important. You're gonna run off on me now? It's much more important how he feels about what he's doing than it is that we can just kind of do some tricks and stuff with him and have him look a certain way. And then when we get to working more, a little bit more focused on that type of stuff, the work is much better, much more benefit to him. He's starting to, you know, to develop some muscle and some strength, but he's got quite a long ways to go yet. But that's something that is really difficult to develop if they're full of tension and worry all the time. So the more relaxed he becomes in the work, the more good he is with everything, the better he feels about what he's doing. The better he feels about what he's doing, the quicker the body, the quicker the body starts to build and come into line. That's it. So there too, that's, you know, going back to his distractibility a little bit. He's got the flag hanging off the side of me here, and he's walking off, but he wasn't walking off because he was afraid of the flag. He just focused his attention elsewhere and kind of forgot that there was something else going on. So this is what I mean. A lot of the things that he has difficulty with isn't necessarily because he's afraid. It's because oftentimes he's so distracted with outside things going on that these things just catch him by surprise, and it's like all of a sudden the flag shows up and it's there. So, you know, so just getting a feeling for what he's doing, where he's focused, how he's feeling. Yeah, good. Good. And again, you know, when this was dragging on the ground before, you know, you can see he's not super stoked about it, but he's okay. And there, he's even actually just focusing over there. So I'm going to bring his attention here a little bit. Yes. Yeah. And I give him again this feeling a little bit like he moves the flag around. I can start to move it a little bit here. Good for you. Yes, good. Good. So just nice things to build on, you know, like having him be okay with this. He's really feels relaxed under me. He's chewing on the bit. His ears are back on me in a nice way now. And I can just move this around and just see what his thoughts are. Good. Yeah. Good. That's it. Yeah, and so like you remember his reactions being so strong to things that were down in front of his feet and stuff before. I'm not going to rub the flag on him here because that might be a little bit too big of an ask for him today, but good boy. Good. And again, not, you know, sitting up here for 25 minutes waving all sorts of weird stuff around and just making him, you know, and talking about how good he's doing. Just giving him the idea, getting that little bit of confidence there, knowing that it's just another day at the office. So here, there's something going on out the door there, so he's getting his energy up and his focus way out there. So I'm going to work a little bit here. I'm going to bring that left hind around. The horses are running around out in the pens here. There's a pen directly behind the arena and one right beside the arena. The horses are moving around out there. The birds are flying up. We're just going to go to a little bit of a bending exercise again. I'm going to move the left shoulder up and over. Going to ask for his ears here. Just going to take a deep breath through the bending in the body and opening up the rib cage. And it's pretty hard to bend in that way, even in your own body, and hold your breath. So get him to take a breath, move forward, let go. And just kind of reconnect himself to what he's doing. Reconnect himself to that feeling in the body, a little bit of softness. I'm just going to try to, you know, guide this energy around. Not trying to restrict it and make him walk through here slower. I want to try to set him up so he feels that he has the ability to think, to relax, to connect the pieces. And then that he starts to slow himself down just through that reconnecting exercise. So it's kind of like a person, if you have a lot of anxiety and you get to a point where you're aware enough of the small little signs that start to bring on the anxiety or an anxiety attack or a panic attack or whatever, and you start to become aware of those early stages, that little tightening in the belly or whatever it happens to be, and you can start to work on that. Kind of the same idea with him, just giving him a little bit of tools again, that when he gets to a certain spot with our help, that he then can start to manage the situation a little bit more himself. And again, just trying to keep that same feeling in my body of just moving and flowing and letting go, and trying to convey to him that it's all okay. And I can't make him better in the sense that I can, you know, just make him relax, but I can convey the feeling to him that it's okay, and then just move in ways and try to set it up so that he starts to understand that, oh yeah, it is really just another thing. And then we get to letting go, the deep breaths, and that stuff, you know, all the good stuff starts to come into play again. It might only be for short times, but the short times will eventually get a little bit longer and a little bit longer. Very nice. And they start to get a little longer and a little longer until they're the bulk of the good parts. And then the little panic attacks and the anxiety becomes a lot less. Very nice. Very good for you. Very good. Yeah. Yeah. Very good. And again, he has to kind of a little bit more considerate and thoughtful about where his feet are, and kind of be mindful of that thing that's underneath of him. Good. Good for you. So yeah, that's the stuff that we've been working on since day one. That's what he can continue to work on and build on. Just building that confidence and that ability to really feel connected to the work he's doing, but to really start to feel good about what's going on inside of him, and letting all of that stuff kind of come out, and just in his day-to-day, not even just when you're working with him, but it carries over to the rest of his day too, to where he's not feeling, where every little thing that goes on outside doesn't stress him to the point where he starts to pace and then run a little bit and get a little more bunched up, and then he's running around and he's kind of kicking, and he just spirals himself. I haven't seen him do that for quite a while yet, unless something really new is going on. My son busted out his Skidoo the other day and was going down the road, and that, it's a loud machine and fast, and so that was something that triggered him again. But again, it didn't take that long before he was okay with that too. So it's nice to see sometime that carry over into the rest of their day as well, to where they just kind of give you the feeling when you see them standing out there and doing their, just out in the turnout, that they actually look a little more rested and peaceful there, as opposed to being so on guard and stressed all the time. So there we are. Leave it at that for today, and I'll probably do his feet up tomorrow or the next day before he heads home. Well, it'll be tomorrow, I guess. And yeah, all right, so thank you.